All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first video. Uh, my name is Lore, and I have created what originally started to be a addition to Morbid's Ultimate Decades Challenge because it is just amazing. Um, so I created this, but from a different point of view. It's basically starting from the viewpoint of the royals, the monarchs. I love royal gameplay, and it's just something that I really wanted to do. And then as a Virgo, I couldn't just be like, oh, let me just do it from this and tweak it. No, I had to create a whole thing. Had to create a whole thing. And then it took me, weeks and everything to make it make sense and put it together. So I have finished it. And then I was sick and I couldn't play. And I was very upset. But so it's finally done. I'm feeling well enough. And I just really want to get this out here. So if you found this, hopefully it's because you're into the same thing and you're going to love this just as much as I do. So this is going to be a video of just going through it real quick. I will attach it for anyone that wants to, download it, follow it, things like that. So right here, I just have a quick note going over how excited I am. I did do a couple shout outs here. Heavily inspired by Morbid Gamer's attention to detail, her intelligence. I love her. Cosmic Hippie, I love watching her gameplay. And I actually discovered the royalty mod from watching, who was it? Mirror Ray's gameplay. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So these three simmers, they definitely inspired me a lot. There's another person I've been watching. I think it's like Rimsey or something, and she is hilarious. So the challenge was created to be the royal point of view of the Ultimate Decades Challenge. That being said, it is based on recording a lot of data. So you will need to use spreadsheets. I will be linking blank ones that I have put up. I think I have one of Morbid's in there also. So it's kind of a combo there of what I use. And yes, there are a lot of death rolls, just like in Morbid Gamers Ultimate Decades Challenge, because we are following her death rolls. It can seem like a lot, but at the end, it's rewarding for those gamers who like to reflect and go into, as I call, psycho mode. Trigger warning. First trigger warning is this gameplay has a lot of war, tragedy, death from, miscarriage, newborn age. Lot of unfortunate events will happen. This is not exactly wholesome gameplay. So it could be sensitive. So if any of these things will bother you, I do not suggest you continue. Just wanted to give that little warning. I'm going to quickly give a second trigger warning, and that is for myself. Um, I am not for everyone, and I am 32 years old, and I'm well aware of that, and I'm okay with it. So if you do not enjoy my style of gameplay, that is absolutely fine. Again, I'm not for everyone. There are a lot of other people, some that I've already named, that are more wholesome. Cosmic Hippie, she's definitely like she's family friendly, but she's still very entertaining. So if you don't enjoy mine, there's other options. That's fine. You don't have to watch me. I understand. So due to the extra trials that our royals will be facing that I added in here, they will not be starting the game from rags to riches because they are the royals. Um, we will still try to have them live with the times and do some challenges of that of the normal decade, but it's going to be a little tweaked. So, maintaining your throne. The crown is based on your favor. When I thought about this, I was like, how can I make this make sense? And ultimately, when it came down to it, when you think about how monarchs have kept their heads, their crown, their throne, however you want to put it, it was based on the favor of the people. It was based on whether or not they wanted them on the throne. Because if you lose your favor with your kingdom, they want you gone. And there's always someone else with the bloodline or connection that they can put on that throne. So you need to maintain favor. So maintaining your throne and crown is based on your favor. Favor is the love of the people. If the people of the kingdom are not happy, that is when they start whispering treason and support the monarchy being overthrown, or worse, start a revolution. Your favor will be based on chance by the roll of a d20 dice. So you're going to take the number that you roll and you're going to times it by 100. You will have opportunities for both losing and gaining favor points during your reign. Will you be a good king and prosper, or will you be a naughty king and risk yours and your family's birthright? The lower your favor, the more you risk your bloodline succession, as your heirs do not get to do their own role. Once their reign begins, the house's favor is inherited, and the sons will suffer for the sins of their fathers. So if we, for example, roll 1300 and the king has dropped that down to, let's say, 800, and then his heir comes to age to take over, he's starting at that 800. So that's why I said the times 100. We'll see. That could be tweaked maybe eventually. This is going to be, I'm going to have videos of the first time ever executing this whole thing that I put together. But so you got to be careful, because the more fun you have and knock down those favor points, the less your heir is going to have to work with, and your house's favor is going to go down. There's also ways to gain it, though, of course. So male line is key in here. Do not come at me about that. That is historic. That's how it's always been. Male line is key. I do have in here that women, the female line, can start becoming the heirs, inheriting the throne in, I think, generation 5. But this is how I'm doing it. If you want to do it some other way, guess what? You are more than welcome to. This is just a suggestion. This is what I've put here. You don't like that? Do it differently. Male line is key in this challenge, as was historically. Female heirs can be used to strengthen alliances and gain favor for the ruling monarch, but they cannot inherit the throne themselves until generation 5. Was generation 5. Remember that all monarchy face many threats from poisoning, mental illness, plagues, pretenders to the throne, and of course war. You will want to start with at least 2 houses, the heir and the spare. You can throw in a legitimate bastard if you want. I put legitimate. Oh no, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you can start with the bastard if you want to make it really exciting. I will be introducing a bastard, but I'm probably going to wait until like my 2nd gen to do that. But you can put them on the playing board as well if you want. I'm just gonna start 2 houses because this is a lot. It's brand new, executing this for the first time, so I'm gonna try not to make it too much to keep track of, but I know I'm going to. So make them together for the relation. You're going to move them into the house, and then you'll separate them with their own surname. I do have the cheat in here if you don't know how to go into full cast edit mode to do that. So the other households can attempt to take the throne at any time by challenging the reigning monarch to a duel to the death. Keep in mind, whoever loses, well, this is you're unalived, so there's nothing you can do about that. So I suggest making sure they have an heir before you make that risk. Otherwise, there will be more options that we'll get to. So let's get started. It's best if you create a save file. It took me weeks, probably over a month, to put my save file together because I'm a psycho. But so you want to have the king's household, the king's brother, the heir and the spare. And then you want to have other royal families in the world, like 3 noble families. You can have an herbal medicine woman, witch, sorcerer, some type of an occult, and at least like 2 peasant families to start. If you go into the gallery and you search like noble families, peasants, whatever, there's a lot of creators out there that have allowed their creations to be downloadable, so you can take advantage of that. I think I did that with like 2 of them. Heir to the throne. So roll your d20 dice to see how much favor you will have to start. Whatever your roll times it by 100, that is your number. As the heir, if you roll okay, so I have one exception to the rule for the heir. So your starting one when you roll, if it's 5 or less, we're just going to make it 500. So the heir to the throne will not start with less than 500. So, but again, like if you roll 15, you're going to start with 1500, blah, blah, blah. If you roll a 3, we're going to start with 5. Figure it out. So, spare to the throne. I had put in here to roll a d8 dice, but honestly, what I've just been doing is I've just been rolling the same. So I'm going to adjust that now. You can change that if you would like to. That's what I'm doing, but I don't have an exception to the rule as far as, 5 or less. Do it however you want to do it. Remember, you will be tracking their favor throughout the game and throughout the generations. So favor, these will probably still be adjusted. Because again, I'm just going to be starting to execute this. But so far I have for gaining favor. You get 100 points for every male heir, 20 points for 5 years that you are faithful to your wife, your queen. 50 points when reaching a level 5 skill, one that's period appropriate, so such as archery, blacksmith, sword fighting, horse riding, farming, hunting, fishing, charisma, etc. 100 points for maxing out a listed skill, 100 points for every male heir that makes it to a teen. Remember, we're doing those death rolls. They can get a little brutal sometimes. 100 points for marrying daughters into noble families, 50 points for sons marrying into noble families, 250 points for sons marrying into a royal household. You'll have to create more of those. You'll see that in the gameplay. 50 points if your spouse dies from a natural cause, sympathy, and that's like a death roll. 50 points for honoring an arranged marriage to a noble or higher. That's for anyone in your household. 50 points for attending church, 100 points for every year tending your own farm, 100 points for every 10 years, no war, no threat, no throne, or to the throne, being boring. I thought I was going to have in here, oh no, I have that later, okay. Lose favor. So to lose favor, 50 points for every mistress you will take, minus 100 points for every bastard child that you have, minus 50 points for every female heir until the 5th gen, then they stop counting against you. 100 points if a male heir dies. Minus 20 points if a female child marries below a noble. Minus 500 points if a male child marries below a noble, because that's not going to look good if he ends up having to become the heir. Minus 100 points for every war lost. We'll go through that. And actually, I think I made it a little worse. We'll see. 100 points for divorcing or killing off a spouse. If they died naturally from the role, that's different. But if you're just like, get out of here, I want my mistress instead, minus 100 points. Minus 100 points for not honoring an arranged marriage with a noble or higher. Minus 100 points for bringing a supernatural sim into the royal family. Minus 10 points for each supernatural heir. We'll see about that. We'll see. I got plans, but that's the original. Minus 50 points for every execution. Minus 200 points for if a royal family member dies of poisoning. Minus 100 points if a royal family member gets poisoned. Minus 250 points if a royal family member inherits or develops through gameplay a mental illness trait. We'll get to that. That's going to be fun. Minus 50 points using an herbalist or a witch. Minus 50 points for each year you raise taxes. Religious favor. So I have downloaded a lot of mods. Too many to mention, but one of them is the rambunctious religions, I believe it's called. So I added that in to make it more fun. So I'm going to have, for example, my starting monarch, he is going to be full blown for the church. So he's going to get an extra 200 points for supporting the church. And then if eventually, through some gameplay, he decides to separate from the church and become a heretic king, or anyone in his bloodline, minus 500 points for favor. Again, that's optional. I decided to throw that in. I like chaos. How do the favor points make a difference? Once the ruling monarchy's bloodline has dropped their favor points at or below a competing bloodline house's favor points, the people will revolt and attempt to remove you and put the favoring house on the throne. So, if our heir... I have a sensitive garbage can and it's moving right now. Anyway, so if your heir is at 500 points, but the other house, the spare, is still at like 800. That's what this is saying. So if you're dropping below, guess what? They have more favor. They're going to try and put them on the throne. So remember that favor will be inherited and passed down through the generations. So eventually there will be an uprising and call for a revolution. Having a surplus of favor points will benefit your line of succession in the future when that time comes. The more reckless one king is, the less chance the next generation will be able to take risks. Example, claiming land, worlds. If the current reigning house's bloodline favor points drops to or below 300 points, Parliament will attempt to force you into abdicating the throne immediately. So if you reach 300 points or lower, you will need to flip a coin. That's giving you a 50-50 chance of keeping your birthright. So heads is for heads of state. You will keep your head and your throne. And you have 1 year, which is 4 sim days in this, to gain 100 favor points or you're going right back on the chopping block. Tails is for running away with your tail between your legs. You lose. If you are forced to abdicate the throne, you can spin a wheel to see if the winning house will grant you mercy, lock you in the dungeon, or execution. Women and children will be spared. Do 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 do. Females can become heirs by the fifth generation. At this time, you can cease losing favor points for every female heir and begin gaining 25 points. You can then choose to begin gaining a separate favor and do a, this is just for like the first one though, do a separate favor roll for the female heir. Female heirs can only take the throne if their favor is higher than the male heir with the roll of a d10 dice. So that's d10, not d20. And then 1, 3, or 6, they lose. Or they can inherit the throne naturally if there is not a male heir. A competing house's male heir may attempt to take the throne from a reigning female heir by waging war to see if the female gets overthrown. Just a reminder in here, we are still following the timeline, which morbid has 4 days equals 1 sim year, which I read is because Sim's pregnancy is 3 days. So that's what they're going off of. We're following that and the death roll guides provided by Morbid Gamer in the Ultimate Decades Challenge. I like to work smarter, not harder. She's already done all the work for us, so we're gonna go off of that because it's brilliant. What more can we do? So here is a little disclosure I added in here. I had this idea like last week. So for my gameplay, I will be adding in one option to avoid a death roll sentence for a sim. An adult of the household may seek out a member of the occult, witch, herbal woman, sorcerer, vampire, even etc., whatever you want to put in your gameplay. And you can beg them to interfere with fate. Just remember that everything comes with a price. Will you give a life to save a life or make a deal you may live to regret? For this part of the gameplay, you can make a spinning wheel that has the different options to see what you have to give to save the life and if you're willing to do that. Or you can just go with whatever you have in your head that makes your gameplay make sense. I have something in my head that you guys will see that makes my gameplay make sense. But after that, I will be doing a spinning wheel. I thought that was really cool. Poisoning. So one of the main things I thought about that, our royals had to face on a daily basis was the risk of being poisoned. So this is a little complex. You don't have to do this, but I feel like it's worth it and it's fun. So members of the royal family were always at risk of being poisoned. So this must be incorporated in. The more people slash subjects you are around, the more likely you are to encounter a wolf among sheep. If you are in a social gathering consisting of 10 or more sims, you must roll to see if someone has been poisoned. So you're going to roll a d20 dice. Odds, you beat the odds, no one has been poisoned. If you roll even, someone is trying to get even. A royal family member has been poisoned. Then you're going to have a wheel. So on that wheel, I'm a psycho, so I'm going to have like literally every little thing. I'm going to have how they were poisoned, who poisoned them, every detail, because that just makes it fun for me. But anyways, you're going to make a wheel with all the names of the royal household. Spin that wheel, see who's been poisoned. For gameplay, like I said, you can do a wheel with everyone at the gathering and see who did it. It might even be their parent, might be their sibling. Who knows? The wheel knows. We don't know. Anyways, roll a d20 dice again. Odds, the royal beats the odds and survives. Even, the royal does not survive. So if you roll odds, it wasn't a life-threatening poison. But if it was evens, it was a fatal poison. Or you can get even more in depth, make a wheel of how they're poisoned. Yeah, all that if it's fatal. Mental illness. There are 3 ways to contract a mental illness in this challenge. If you can think of more, please let me know, because I like chaos. Number 1, if a sim survives being poisoned 3 times, they must be given a mental illness, because even though they may have survived, that poison still took its toll. That's quite a few times to survive. So then, if a sim loses 3 children, flip a coin to see if they develop a mental illness. Heads, they're fine. Tails, they develop a trait. 3, if a sim survives war, they must flip a coin to see if they develop a mental illness. When my sims become elders, I'm going to be doing a flip also, but you don't have to do that. So I put in here, if you don't know how to change a sim's trait, I put in the code. And if you guys ever see me doing any cheat that you don't know, how to do, just tell me and I'll tell you. A lot of the ones I do are pretty standard. I'm pretty pretty well informed with The Sims, but there's still sometimes where I see other people and I'm like, I don't know anything. um, but I'm always willing to help. So, not sure what to choose. You can just go by simple, this sounds like this formula. Example, gloomy is for depression. Hot-headed could be bipolar. Evil could be sociopath. There is a mental wellness mod, I think it's called. So if you want to get that and go that route, you can. I haven't. I probably will, but as of right now, I do not have that. War. What is it good? Anyway, keep in mind these rules are for war over land and the throne. So we're still following Morbid Gamers Ultimate Decade Challenge with the other things going on. This is different. This is part of the line of succession route. So if you go to war for land or for the throne, these are the bases you will follow. You will roll a d4 dice. This is for how many years the war will last. I thought about doing a d10, but I was like, I don't want to deal with all that. That's too much. So d4, maximum 4-year war. I hear the 100-year war laughing at us. 4 years. Anyway. The king and heir does not have to go to war, but it will cost favor with the realm. To avoid going to war yourself, you must sacrifice 500 favor points. You cannot do this if that is going to put you at or below 300 favor points as per the other rules in the challenge. Kings will in turn receive 1,000 favor points to their house's favor for joining their soldiers in battle. One male from each family must offer themselves for the realm. This means it does not have to be the head of the house. It can be a son, heir, same goes for the king. So the king doesn't have to go himself. He could send his heir. So the way that we're doing this is once, if you want to roll, I think Morbid has like a draft way of doing it. I'm just taking one male heir from each one. I'm not going to roll whatever. If I have a hard time deciding, maybe I'll flip a coin. But I'm going to take one male heir from each of the households in that kingdom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them or another kingdom when we get to that eventually. We're going to move them to one lot. We're going to make sure that that lot has enough for them to function and stay alive. So the men are going to stay there for the duration of the war. Each year, we are going to roll to see who lives to fight another day and who will die an honorable death on the battlefield. So we're going to roll a d20 dice. 5, 10, 15, 20. They die for the realm. The king and heir, we're only going to risk them at 5 and a 10 because that makes sense to me because other people are going to be, trying to save and keep them protected. So their risk is going to be a little less, but nonetheless, at the end of the war, if we had more survivors than losers, then we win the war. We're going to win 1,000 favor points added to the house, reward your soldiers as you see fit. This is an opportunity for gameplay, storytelling. If you want to, give someone like a promotion, give them a title, give them land. The royalty mod, you really do have to have that for this. Land, you can claim the land and may appoint a royal household there. Throne, you keep your throne and may decide to execute your opponent or show leniency, as stated previously in the rules. Lose, you lose 500 favor points. I was going to make it more, but I was like, I'll just do 500. Land, you have no claim to that land, and now an opposing royal family will take reign. Throne, you lose your throne and must throw yourself at the mercy of the victor. So that depends. So if this is for land, oh, that's literally what I did. I'm so smart. If you're going to war for land, then where it says land, those are the outcomes. And if you're going for the throne, then those are the outcomes. Did I mention I've been sick? So yeah, and going over like the lands and stuff, if you watch my gameplay after this, you'll start to see what I'm doing. So different worlds, I'm going to do different kingdoms. We're going to be doing stuff like that. So again, I'm going to make this available for everyone because I just think it's so cool and I wanted to share it because I know there's going to be someone else out there that will think that this is just awesome. And yeah, so I'm going to make sure, let me show this real quick. So I created this. Here we go. So line of succession. Right here is we're just going to do an overview. First name, last name, relationship, gender, year start, their reign, status, year of death, age of death, life stage, cause of death, bloodline, breed class. I filled in a little bit because I have my family and I'm going to start going through stuff. Marriages, like the first marriage, second marriage, number of legitimate children, number of bastard children, what house are they from, how were they poisoned, and if they developed a mental illness, favor tracker. So this is where, again, I filled in a little bit. I'm starting in Windenburg, as many do. Um, so generation, first name, last name, house, bloodline, kingdom, reign start, favor start, reign end, cause of the end of the reign, favor end, status. Family tree, which this I think I was inspired by Morbids. And then I have a betrothal here to keep track of arranged marriages and things like that because I want to do some chaos with that. And then right down here where you see copy, copy, these are Morbids. So these are her death rolls right here. Decades challenge timeline. So this is where you keep track of the years. So again, she's already done such an amazing job. Why would I even try to do anything else? I'm just going to go off of it because, like I said, this is supposed to be kind of like a combination thing. Um, so I have Morbids here. You can get that from hers. I really think you should have Morbids and this at the same time. Um, and then she did a amazing farming key. So again, she's already done the work. So I have that in here too to keep track of. And then this is like the percentages and everything. So anyways, yeah. So that is my line of succession challenge that I have put together. I'm going to start gameplay videos and I'm super excited to get this going because I've been waiting. I have been waiting. To start this. And then I was sick and I couldn't play. So I'm very excited. And if you do play this, I really hope you enjoy it. That's all.